Well, hello. I'm Gregg Vandekieft. I'm a palliative care physician in Olympia, Washington, and it's my pleasure to be talking today with Carlos Alaniz, my colleague here in Olympia. And Carlos, I'll have you introduce yourself.
My name is Carlos Alaniz, and I'm the Director of Hospice Services with Providence Sound Home Care and Hospice here in Olympia.
Carlos, how did you find your way to a leadership role in hospice?
I'm an occupational therapist, and I worked as an occupational therapist at a nursing home in Seattle. I moved up to rehab coordinator and the administrator of the nursing home. Through my 11 years at the nursing home, I observed the work that the hospice teams would do for our patients, for our families, and for the staff that we had at the nursing home. I was always impressed by the work they did, and I always wondered if there was a place for me in hospice. As an occupational therapist, I didn't think there was, but I was ready for a change. I had looked at some job postings by Providence Hospice of Seattle, and they were looking for an occupational therapist. I wondered what my role would be, because as an occupational therapist, we are focused on rehab, getting someone better. I got hired on. Within a week, 2 weeks of my orientation back in 2005, I realized that the role of occupational therapy is vital to maximizing a patient's quality of life as they face end of life.
Yeah, what is the difference between a physical therapist and an occupational therapist?
Physical therapy deals mainly with mobility, and occupational therapy adds function to that mobility. It's not just can they walk 100 feet, but can they walk 100 feet to their bathroom or to their kitchen and be able to re-involve themselves and learn skills to be able to perform their self-care, whether it's bathing, whether it's toileting, whether it's dressing.
I think a lot of people will hear occupational therapist and they'll think that it has to do with somebody's job.
The second day that I started my orientation at Providence Hospice of Seattle, that second day, and I shadowed a hospice aide who was providing bathing services to her patients. And we went to see, I think, 3 or 4 patients that day. And one of them was a gentleman who had been bedbound for several months. He had lung cancer with metastasis to his bones, primarily to one of his femurs. And the doctor had told him that he should not put any weight on that because there was a high risk of it fracturing. And so the patient, before coming on to hospice, listening to his doctor, he just stayed in bed. But when I was introduced as the new occupational therapist with the team, he looked at me and said, "Can you get me out of this bleeping bed?" And he expressed that he knew he was dying. He knew that he needed care, but he didn't want his wife to continue assisting him with toileting in bed. He wanted his wife to have a different role in his life. I couldn't do it that day, but I was able to go back shortly after and spoke with him about the risks and spoke with his doctor. I was able to get this patient sitting at the edge of the bed and practicing scooting alongside the edge of the bed. And when he was ready, I brought a commode that he was able to transfer to with the skills that I had just provided him. And he was able to go to the bathroom for the first time, sitting upright. It was a wonderful day for him. This was around Thanksgiving time in 2005. And he was able to sit in a wheelchair that we were able to provide and have one last Thanksgiving dinner with his family.
You've been director here in Olympia for a while and are kind of looking towards the future. What is your hope for the growth of hospice palliative care in the community?
There's still a big gap. Out of Medicare recipients, only about 50% of them take advantage of the hospice benefit through Medicare. And it's a free service that these citizens of our country have paid for and deserve. But only 50% of them who qualify for Medicare get to access hospice services. There's a big gap. Either they don't have knowledge of the program, their physicians don't have knowledge of the program. Our goal is to increase that percentage from 50 to 75 maybe. We do understand that we cannot serve 100% of that community because there are people who die suddenly, accidentally. But certainly, I think we can reach 70, 75% of those who qualify for Medicare.
That's something that surprises many patients and families with certain conditions. The attention you're getting, the higher quality of care that's being provided by having in-home services through hospice can prolong your life. There's that mindset out there, in part because of the Medicare requirement for a 6-month or less prognosis. If I were able to have my magic wand or be king for a day, I would get rid of that prognosis requirement and really make it about the needs and the services so that people don't see that as a barrier to get those services and can really just focus on quality of life and in some some instances, actually having a longer, higher quality life through those services.